everyone! I did make a video about cabin fever already, but because a lot of it was dealing with specific things that had happened in Korea, just to keep you guys informed, the video ended up being a bit long, so I wanted to go ahead and make a shorter version of the video. Basically, what you want to keep in mind when it comes to cabin fever are three things, and then we'll add another one for panic, which I didn't include in the first video. The three things that you want to consider are, number one, keep a schedule. Whether you're working from home or you're on some kind of paid leave, unpaid leave, or otherwise a student or what have you, you want to keep a schedule that is similar to the schedule you kept before this whole self-isolation situation happened. That means that even though you don't have to wake up at the same time to do the commuting, even though you don't have to go to bed at the same time, keep doing that. When you start to have these long periods of sleep or long periods of waking, that's when your brain kind of starts to forget what day it is. Things can seem a lot more disorienting, and it can start driving you a little bit nuts. Let's be honest. I think any of us have experienced one of those sleep hangovers where you wake up and you see that it's 6, but is it 6 a.m., 6 p.m.? You have no idea, especially if your window shades are drawn. So that's the first thing that I want to recommend. With that, instead of using that time for commuting because you're not going anywhere, I would recommend doing exercise. There's a lot of different exercises you can do, and I'll put it in a pinned comment, some recommendations on things that you can check out. Now for me, I work out from home anyway, so I have some equipment that I use at home, but I also have medical problems, and there are times when I can't really use the equipment the way that I would like to. So the recommendations I'm going to make are for people that are able-bodied and for people that are limited. So hopefully you can find something that works for you. But that's one thing that you definitely want to keep track of, especially since you're not moving around as much. You do want to keep that circulation going and keep up a basic physical fitness. Actually, one person I know has already stated that during this time, their legs have started going numb because they've sat down for so long. This is a person I wouldn't describe as lazy. In fact, they always go to the gym every day, or at least 5 or 6 times a week. But because they've been stuck inside the house without a gym to go to, they're sort of at a loss for what to do. So I wanted to recommend that to you guys, okay? The second thing that you want to do is keep clean. Whether you are sharing a room or sharing a home, you want to keep everything clean. When we have a lot of clutter, that causes us a lot of stress. When we're stressed out, we tend not to make really good decisions, plus it's just really uncomfortable. I think it has to do with something like if there's a lot of stuff to keep track of visually, especially when we were back in the hunter-gatherer time, we were always worried, is there something hiding behind that, or is there a bug that can kill me that's hiding under one of those pieces of rubbish or what have you. So it does tend to stress us out mentally a lot. The other thing too is, of course, the more that you're home, you're making more trash at home, and you just want to keep the area clean to keep out things like a mouse or rat infestation, cockroach infestation, or ants. You don't want to leave food out, because that's how you get ants. You want ants? That's how you get ants. Okay. This would just cause another problem on top of the problem that we're already having. You just don't need to deal with that. Okay. The third thing is you want to keep healthy. I know there's a tendency to just say, all right, this is the time I'm just going to screw around and eat frozen pizza and ramen. But not having proper nutrition is really going to affect how you feel mentally as well as physically. You're not going to be able to make a lot of good decisions, and you might start saying, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to go outside, putting yourself at risk and other people at risk, and that's not a good idea, okay? Now, the thing that I want to add here for panic, which I didn't cover in the other video, we are not in a panic situation. By that, I mean we still have access to food, we still have the same access to water, we still have the same access to pharmacies. There's not a food shortage going on. You can still leave the house to go grocery shopping, to go to pharmacies. You can still do that. You're not banned from doing that. It's recommended, of course, you don't go out in a big group. If you're normally used to shopping with your family, leave your family at home and do it by yourself. But that doesn't mean you can't go shopping. I want you to not stock up on too many things. The reason that you want to avoid this is, number one, you're kind of triggering that panic purchasing response in other people when they see you with this giant cart full of one item. It makes it look like there might be a shortage of that one item. And I'm not saying this is your fault. I'm just saying this is what happens. We tend to panic, and we're not really good thinkers when we panic. What was that saying? One person is smart, but many people are stupid. We want to avoid that many people are stupid situation. On top of that, having a bunch of cans in your house, not the best time mentally. Not only does it add to the clutter, but having that monotony of this is what I'm going to have for a meal again. Not having fresh food again. It just kind of starts to wear on you. One other problem too that I've noticed from some people, they've mentioned that they've had this issue, is that they've started putting on weight. Because not only are they not moving, but they're eating a lot of food that's not only unhealthy, but high sodium. So having all that extra sodium is going to suck up a little extra water, make you look pretty puffy, and psychologically that can start to bother you, especially if you have pre-existing issues about your body or you had lost a lot of weight and you're worried that you might be gaining it back. Being able to go out to the store, not every day, but maybe once every 2 weeks, for example, to grab fresh food, not only ensures that you still have fresh food in your house, you're eating healthily, which is point 3, we want to keep healthy, but it gives you something to kind of break up the routine a bit, which gives you something to look forward to, definitely. So for those reasons, we want to make sure that we don't panic and we do figure out how to stay inside healthily. For those of you that do have to live with other people, it's okay to keep distance sometimes. It can be more difficult the longer that we're with people that we're not normally around 24/7. Little things they can do start bothering us, especially if we're experiencing those symptoms of cabin fever anyway, where we're not eating very well, maybe you're feeling body conscious, and you're hearing them chomp, chomp, chomp. Something like that might make you just snap and start yelling at them when you really don't want to be doing that. Separate yourself from that person. Take a long bath or sit in the other room. Do something that is alone. Have your personal time, even though you're at home with people all the time. Try to keep some kind of normal schedule with that. If you are working, separate yourself from that person. Shut the door. They can't come in, and you're doing your work on your own, as if you would if you had left the house for work. Same thing if you're doing any school that's done remotely. And then if you normally have dinner together, have dinner together. Maybe watch a movie or something. But don't try to force so much, well, we're just going to sit in the same room together and annoy each other so much. Try to keep that separate. That's going to help you guys, especially if you already had a tense situation before. Maybe you have a roommate you don't always get along with. You don't have to be around each other just because you're in the same house together, okay? So try to do things that just make sense for you. And also remember that sometimes we might have issues with the internet, and that's not something to necessarily panic about, but at the same time, it might happen. I mean, there's a lot more people using the internet now because all at the same time, since a lot of us aren't going to work when we normally would. This might cause some kind of problem. It might slow things up a bit. Whatever. And I know some of you are in areas where your internet access isn't very good anyway. So what I do recommend, in addition to, having all the stuff that I did recommend before, is find a hobby that you can do that's offline. So for me, I started doing macrame. I made this thing here just for fun. Okay, do something that focuses your attention away from everything else. Something that you think is pleasing, fun, whatever. I've noticed that one thing for me that's very relaxing, which is so strange, is that when my cats are attacking my balls of yarn, wrapping them back up and untangling it, there's just something really calming for me about that. So the cats enjoy playing with the balls of yarn, and I get some benefit of just relaxing and rolling it back up, which sounds really silly, but at the same time, it reduces my stress. If you have something like that you can do, I recommend doing it. Maybe clean up part of a room that you've been neglecting for a while. If there's a bookshelf that you kind of started using as a junk pile, start going through that slowly. You don't have to do all of it right now. You can pick a shelf to work on or pick a pile to work on, leave and come back later. Break that up with, a couple push-ups or some squats. Make some new kind of tea blend or coffee blend that you've, why not? Just screw around. Remember, we're not on some kind of food shortage, okay? You can still have all the excess silly foods that you want. Go for it. Try baking. Try something that you wanted to try, wanted to get back into. Open up that Duolingo app or open up that book on Swahili that you have on your shelf, you know? Enjoy doing something. That's all that matters. Just enjoy doing something. Keep yourself focused. Keep yourself healthy. Keep yourself sane. And remember, it doesn't help to panic. One thing that I tell myself, especially having anxiety disorder, is I tell myself a thought-stopping sort of technique, which is if I notice myself doing that anxiety spiral thought, I tell myself, okay, maybe that thing will happen. But it's not happening right now. So there's no reason to freak out. It's not going to help me. And of course, telling myself that one time, it doesn't help. You have to do it repeatedly. So maybe this is going to happen, but it's not happening right now. There's no need to panic. Panicking won't help. Panicking makes it worse. Deal with it if it happens. It's not happening right now. It's not happening right now. And as you talk yourself out of that anxiety spiral, you'll find yourself calming down. Might even be calming just hearing me say that. That's what we need to do right now. People have asked me, well, how am I doing? Well, you know what? It's fine. It's not great. It's not ideal. Nobody loves this situation. We have to do it as long as it needs to be done to keep this from spreading and to keep this from mutating. That's the big issue. Okay? I hope that all of you guys are able to have proper access to medical care if you need it. If not, try to contact different shelters or different clinics just to see what to do in case something happens. For those of you that are prone to panic or prone to anxiety, it might help you to know that there's a way to deal with it if it does happen. That might be like a safety kind of thing that you can tell yourself, well, maybe I can't afford to go here, but I do know that I can go here. That might be able to help you out, okay? We can do this. You can do this. There's no reason to panic. Find something to take your mind off of it. Focus on work. I know that there is a desire too that since we're at home, we're not being watched by people that like our managers, for example, that, well, maybe I can just sleep in, or maybe I can just do this or whatever. Just keep on your work. That helps you keep that schedule. That helps you feel productive. If you let that work or that homework pile up, it's just going to cause you stress later. It still has to get done, but now it has to get done all at once. It's going to stress you out, especially if you're not feeling very well. Maybe you got sick that day. Maybe you drank a little too much the night before and you woke up with a hangover and now you got all this stuff to work on. Just work on it bit by bit, just as you would normally. Keeping that normal schedule, keeping yourself basically healthy, basic physical fitness, all that stuff is going to keep you focused, and it's not going to be a big deal. The fact that I see people that are starting to experience signs of cabin fever even a week into this, and I'm not talking like across the world where the situation might be different. I'm talking people that I know here in Korea. The way that I've reacted to it, or a couple of my friends who are doing this similarly, the way we've reacted to it versus how they've reacted to it are worlds apart. For me, this is a minor inconvenience, but otherwise doable. For them, it seems like they're going to go bust open their door and jump out anytime, anytime soon. So, really want to avoid that. Okay, it sucks. We can't really do anything about that. Let's just deal with what we can do. Okay, so if you guys have any specific questions, please feel free to post them below. I'm happy to help you guys any way that I know how. But other than that, stay safe and stay safe.